Last week, we announced Project Nomad, which is an offline knowledge server packed with encyclopedias full of information, maps, educational courses, and even a local AI. I have been blown away by the positive response to this project, so first of all, thank you to everyone who has already tried it out, and especially those who have provided valuable feedback on how we can improve this free and open source project. One of the most common requests that I've received over the past week is, can you do a step-by-step installation video for Project Nomad? So that's what we're gonna do in this video. So let's hop right into it because we've got a lot to cover. Before we get started, Project Nomad is 100% free and open source. You can go and download it right now. That being said, at the moment, it's costing me personally about $1,000 a month in hosting and development fees. So if you're so inclined, we do have a support the project page where you can donate a few bucks or check out some of our other services such as Rogue support. We designed Project Nomad to run on x86 hardware. So this can be an old PC that you've got stored in your closet, or it can be a super beefy gaming rig, or it can be a mini PC, which is what I'm going to be installing in this video. Right here behind me, I have the Minis Forum MS01, which should be just about perfect for middle-of-the-road performance. And if you want to check out what kind of performance you can get on your own hardware, we have a full hardware specification table located at projectnomad.us. All of those stats were built with anonymous user data sent into our benchmarking page, so they're pretty true to life. But as with any server application, the more CPU, RAM, and GPU power that you throw at it, the better your performance is gonna be. You can absolutely install Nomad on a 10-year-old PC and it'll work great as an information store, but your AI experience isn't gonna be spectacular. I should also cover what's not gonna work, or what the project wasn't designed to run on, right? So Raspberry Pis and other devices with ARM architecture are not supported. If you're looking for something that's not as power hungry as a PC and can run on a Raspberry Pi, check out the Internet in a Box project instead. That is a great source of information. Additionally, virtual machines and hypervisors like Proxmox are not supported. And neither is installing on WSL2 in Windows or installing right on top of Mac OS. Now that being said, there are already folks out there who have gotten Nomad to work on all of those platforms, but you're basically on your own as far as figuring out how to do it. We're focused right now on x86 bare metal installs until we're happy that the project is super solid. And then we might branch into other types of deployments and other types of architectures. All right, so disclaimers out of the way, the first thing that we need to do is install Ubuntu. So let's head on over to ubuntu.com. All right, so here I am at ubuntu.com and I'm going to pull down products and we're gonna choose Ubuntu Desktop. Now, you can also run this on Ubuntu Server, but for those folks who are kind of new to Linux and you're coming from a Windows or a Mac OS environment, Ubuntu Desktop is going to be a little bit friendlier for you because it has that graphical user interface experience that you expect with Windows or Mac. But it does run on either desktop or server. I'm personally just gonna be using desktop in this video. So right here we have download Ubuntu Desktop. We're gonna click on that and we want Ubuntu 2404 LTS. LTS means long-term support. They do have a newer version down here, 25.10. That's not the one we want. We wanna use the stable version 2404. So just click download and as you can see, there it goes. But as you can see, it is a almost 6 gigabyte download. So depending on the speed of your internet connection, this may take a little while. Once Ubuntu has been downloaded, we need to put it on a flash drive and make that flash drive bootable. And we can do that with a program such as Rufus or Balena Etcher. I'm gonna use Rufus in this case. I've actually never used Rufus myself, so this will be a first for me. You'll learn along with me. But if you go to rufus.ie, we can come over here and just download this executable. And do we want to check for application updates online? Sure, why not? And here we go. So select your device that you want to install onto. In my case, it's a 32 gig USB-C flash drive. And then we're going to select the Ubuntu ISO that we downloaded. So click this button here. And there it is. I've selected it. And all of the rest of this looks good, so let's just go ahead and say start. All right, and this is a warning about ISO mode versus DD mode, and it says just recommend ISO mode. I think that's perfectly fine. And keep in mind that this is going to destroy anything that is on that USB thumb drive. So if you got, pictures of grandma on there or something, make sure you've saved a backup of those before you do this process right here. All right, and this is something about the grub installer. We're just gonna say yes and see what it does. All data will be destroyed. As I just said, we're gonna say okay. All right, there we go. It is now creating our USB boot drive. While Ubuntu is being written to that flash drive, this is the computer that I'm going to be installing onto. And as you can see right now, it is Windows, right? So we need to actually replace Windows on this machine. Again, this is going to wipe out this entire machine. So make sure that any PC that you're installing onto, you are okay with wiping out all the data on that machine. But given that this is Windows and this is running on this little Minis Forum mini PC, I already know that the BIOS is not set to boot off of a USB thumb drive. So the first thing we need to do, you may or may not have to do this in your own scenario, but I'm gonna have to do it here, get into the BIOS of that machine, and then set it up so that the USB thumb drive is the first bootable option. Rufus finished installing Ubuntu onto that thumb drive, and I put the thumb drive into one of the USB 3 ports on the Minis form here. And as you can see, I have booted now into the Minis Forum BIOS. And you do this typically by either hitting delete a bunch of times as it's booting up or F2 a bunch of times as it's booting up. I kind of just do delete and F2 if I don't know which one. So here we can see setup. We want to go into setup. Whoop, wrong mouse. Here we go, setup. And every PC is going to have a similar version of this BIOS. It might not look exactly like this, but typically they're gonna have a lot of the similar settings. In our case, we wanna come over here to boot. And if we look at our boot order or our boot option priorities, we can see that Windows is first, and then my thumb drive is down here second. So I wanna swap those, right? So I want the thumb drive to be first, and I want Windows to be second. And now we can say save and exit and save changes and reset. Okay. And now the computer is going to reboot and it should pop up with the start of our Ubuntu installation. In fact, let me grab the keyboard. There we go. So we've got try or install Ubuntu. We're going to say enter. All right, and now we have the wizard, the getting started wizard for Ubuntu, or the installation wizard. We're gonna say next. Accessibility, we'll just say next. Keyboard layout is fine, we're gonna say next. I have a wired connection, so we're gonna do that, but if you were connecting over Wi-Fi, this is where you would set up your wireless connection. And update is available for the installer. All right, let's go ahead and update the installer. And so that closed out of the installer, we can just click this icon down here in the corner to restart. And once again, choose your language, accessibility, next, keyboard, next, wired connection. And let's go ahead and do an interactive installation. We're mostly going to be taking the defaults on all this stuff here. So, okay, so what apps would you like to install? We'll just take default apps. That's totally fine. I'm going to check the box to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware. All right, how do you want to install Ubuntu? In our case, I'm gonna erase the entire disk and we are going to just install fresh. All right, create your account, here we go. And here I've given my machine a name and a username and I've typed in a password. We will say next. Los Angeles time zone is correct for me. Review your choices, everything looks good, and install. So there we go, Ubuntu is now installing on this PC right here, and I will come back when it's done so that we can start the Project Nomad installation. Okay, the install finished, so we're gonna go ahead and say restart now. And that's gonna reboot this machine, and then when it boots back up, we're gonna run some updates. And one more thing, as it says here, make sure you pull out that USB thumb drive as it's rebooting, or else it's just gonna start the installation process over again. And we don't want to do that. Pull the USB and, whoops, wrong keyboard, enter. All right, after the reboot, I logged into the machine using the credentials that I set up during installation, and we get this welcome screen. We'll just say, whoops, next. We're gonna skip Ubuntu Pro for now, and we're not gonna share any system data. And we're going to skip installing extra applications at the moment. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do here is update Ubuntu, make sure we have the latest and greatest software. So let's do that first. I'm going to click Apps in the bottom left-hand corner. It's behind my little picture-in-picture here. And we're going to open up Terminal. Then you can also do Control-Alt-T. Yes. And we're going to say sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y. So this is going to check for new packages, and then it's going to install those new packages. And there it goes. All right, and done. So one of the first things that we want to do is enable SSH. Now, SSH, if you're not familiar, is the command line interface for Ubuntu, and it's going to allow us to remotely connect to this server and run commands if we need to. Now, this is an optional step. You can just use the terminal here, but if this is sitting on your local area network and you want to be able to connect to it and run CLI Linux commands remotely, you're going to want to enable SSH. So we're going to say sudo apt install open ssh-server-y, and then we want to turn it on, sudo systemctl enable --now ssh. And let's check the status, sudo systemctl status ssh. And there we can see it is active and running. So now let's try to connect to our box from my Windows machine right here, and then we can continue with the Nomad installation from there. All right, so I'm just going to use PowerShell to SSH over to the server. Certainly you can use PuTTY or any other SSH terminal that you are comfortable with. But let's just do SSH, and then you want to do username at server name or IP address. So we're going to say C Sherwood, that's the username that I set up on the Ubuntu box at, and then the host name of the box that I gave it on install was Nomad 5. There we go. You sure you want to connect? We're going to say yes. What's the password? There we go, and we are in. So the next thing you want to do is head on over to projectnomad.us. This is our main site for everything Project Nomad. And right here, we can find the Project Nomad GitHub repository. So if we click on the GitHub and scroll down, right here, you will find the one-click install for Ubuntu. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. I'm going to go back to SSH, and we're going to Shift Insert to put that command right into PowerShell and hit Enter, give it the password. And there we go. Now, Project Nomad installer has started. This, by the way, also installs curl if that's a package that you don't have, because I don't think it comes by default with Ubuntu, so it takes care of that as well. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Then we're going to accept the terms of the license. And now this is taking care of absolutely everything for us in the back end. There we go. So just about 1 minute later, we now have Project Nomad installed. And as you can see here on the box itself, you can just go to localhost :8080, or we can connect across the LAN to the IP address :8080, or you can use the host name if you're on that same LAN in most cases. So let's try that. So I'm pulling up http://nomad5:8080. That's port 8080. And there we go. We have our Nomad Command Center. And as of the recording of this video, we are on version 1.30.1. So right from this dashboard, if you're interested in dark mode instead of this light mode, we have night ops down here, and you can switch into night mode. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave it in day mode. And where you want to start is right here, Easy Setup. So we're going to click Easy Setup. What would you like Nomad to do? So this is the different type of applications that you want to install. In my case, I'm just going to say Information Library. That's going to allow us to download Wikipedia, medical references, survival guides, DIY repair guides, all that sort of good stuff. Education platform is Calibri. That's going to let you do a bunch of different TED Talks. It's going to let you do all of Khan Academy, etc. I'll skip that one for now. And then we're going to say AI Assistant, which is our local Ollama-based LLM. If you open this up down here, we've also got a couple of additional tools. I'm going to skip those for now. We're going to say next. Now we have our map regions. So for the mapping, the offline maps in Project Nomad, what regions do you want to download? And these can be pretty big. So I'm just going to pick this one, Pacific region here in the Pacific Northwest. It also includes Hawaii, and that's about 3 gigabytes worth of download. We'll say next. Now we can choose our various content. So we've got different AI models. I'm just going to pick Llama 1 and Llama 3.1 and Llama 3.2. Then we've got various different Wikipedia levels. So you can say no Wikipedia all the way up to full Wikipedia with pictures, which is about 100 gigabytes worth of installation. For the purposes of this setup though, I'm just going to use the quick reference so things go a lot quicker. And then right here, we have our curated content collection. So these various categories such as medicine, survival and preparedness, education and reference. If you click any of these, you can pick the level of content that you want installed under any of these categories. And you can always add or remove. You can go from essential to standard, standard to comprehensive anytime you want. So I'm just going to say essential for all these so we get the smallest downloads. And we'll say next. And now this is going to say review your selections. Also keep in mind here, look, this is how much we're adding to the disk, right? So we're not installing a lot of stuff. And in fact, people have asked me, what's the maximum size disk that you need for Project Nomad? And in my experience, I found that just like a 1 terabyte disk is actually plenty to get all of Wikipedia with pictures, all of Khan Academy, all sorts of good informational content fits easily in a 1 terabyte disk. So that's what I would recommend. But as you're adding stuff, you can see this secondary little green bar right here grow. This is saying that right now we're at 17.8 gigs, and with what I've selected, it's going to add 12.7 gigs to the drive, and we will still have 900 gigs free. And we're just going to say complete setup. At this point, you can see that it's pulling down the various Docker containers for Kiwix, that's our information library, Qdrant, that's I think our RAG database system, Ollama, that's the backend for the large language model stuff. And then you also get all of these downloads here. And if you scroll down, you see all of the downloads queued up. Now you might see a couple of different downloads or a couple of different things that are failing. If anything's failing, like for example, if a Zim file is no longer available, we are sort of working on a mechanism to make sure that those always stay fresh. But if you get any of these warnings, you can always just dismiss them by clicking on the X right there. In that case, it was the Ollama models, and it was that we were trying to download the AI models before we had Ollama installed. So we'll have to come back and download those in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to let this run until all of this is installed, and then we'll come back and we'll walk through the interface. All right, so my downloads have completed. As we can see here, I've got information library, and I got a whole bunch of information in here now. Now you can install way more than what I have here, but you get a ton of stuff. Military medicine, Wikipedia, here's, whatever, beef and broccoli, right? Here's recipes. There's all sorts of stuff that you can download. That is in the Kiwix server. AI Assistant is going to be your large language models that are running locally on this machine. Now, notice right now it says no models installed. So we can go to Models and Settings, and then let's install like Llama 3.2. We'll just choose latest here. And then while those models are installing, notice over here, you can support the project. So if you are interested in buying me a coffee, right, again, this project is about $1,000 a month to develop and maintain right now during this initial period. So anything goes a long way. And of course, you can also visit our other service, Rogue Support, to get help with your home network if you need that help. All right, so back at the command center, let's go into AI Assistant. We can now see that we have a model populated up here, and you can switch between models in the upper right. So let's say, what is the maximum airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
What do you mean? An African or European swallow? Huh? I don't know that.
And there we go. So it took about 30 seconds. This machine does not have a GPU, right? So there is no GPU accelerated AI inference, but it took about 30 seconds, and now it's typing out the question here and says, unfortunately, I must inform you that this question is more related to humor and satire than a serious inquiry about aerodynamics or ornithology. I love that. Okay, but since we have this here and we saw that the AI was not great on this particular mini PC, I mean, it's usable, it's not terrible, but it's not spectacular. Let's go over to settings and then let's click into our benchmark and run our full benchmark. All right, there we go, benchmark complete, and this machine received a Nomad score of 69.6, which again is about middle of the road. Let's go ahead and share that to the benchmark leaderboards. And let's see where we stack up. So here we are, 69.6. This is our benchmark name. And of course, we're not going to be anywhere near the leaderboards, but if we look at the leaderboards, we can see there's a bunch of people that have already received perfect 100 scores. All right, so I also installed some maps. So if you go to maps now, notice I didn't download all of the maps. So part of the US here is chopped off. And for folks looking for international maps, that is coming in a future update. We are working on that right now. But right now you get what you get, and we have the US, and I downloaded California and Oregon, and let's zoom into Portland here. So you can see you do get full map capabilities. And when you zoom to this level, you actually get like some businesses pop up. There's a coffee shop, and here's a restaurant over here, etc. So yeah, this is a pretty detailed maps, especially considering that this is local to this machine. And if you want to go back and install more apps, you can do that right here under Install Apps. If you click on System, you get all of your system information, so you can see your CPU and your GPU. There we go. And so we can see that we installed it on Ubuntu 24.04, and this is a Core i9-13900H. All right, so there you go, a complete step-by-step walkthrough of how to install Project Nomad. If you have any issues, if you have any questions, go to GitHub. There's an issues page where you can pop in any problems that you might be having. And additionally, we have a ton of community help in the Project Nomad channel in our Crosstalk Solutions Discord. So you can go check that out now and chat with other people that are using Project Nomad. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one.